right? It was this American intellectual group of relatively young thinkers that had direct connections to politics, to the White House, to the Reagan era, that saw the collapse of the Soviet Union and the fall of the Berlin Wall as the moment that the West was legitimized as the only game in town, as the moment that everyone should follow the Western and especially the American model. And so you have this whole group of young academics who started analyzing what are we exactly as the West, and who are we supposed to become as humanity, and how does the rest of the world follow in our footsteps. It was essentially a very arrogant, but that is sometimes necessary in academia, a very arrogant group of young men, mostly men, who pushed for the narrative that now that the Cold War is over, the West is the deterministic future for the whole of humankind, and they had enormous impact on policymaking during this period.
But can we blame them for that? Because I think that's a thought that's very attractive after the Cold War. You fought good versus evil for so long, and then at some point, the good guys, well, you actually win. So you write this. I mean, it's not something that I think we can blame him for, right?
Not at all. And so very often people speak about this group of people, and it's a little bit overly simplistic to just call them neoconservatives, because there were a lot of different movements that went in this similar direction. But the neoconservative movement is certainly a movement that Fukuyama was part of, and that very strongly made this case. Often people are very dismissive of the neoconservative movement as just aggressive warmongers, but they were true idealists, and it was a very reasonable thing in some ways to believe that once you've defeated the bad guys in the Second World War, once you defeated the bad guys from a Western perspective, right? Bad guys, the bad guys during the Cold War. Once you have triumphed over evil, for you to believe in yourself as actually the saviors of humanity. Now in 2023, we know that this was a horribly twisted and mistaken perspective. But in 1990 or 1995, it seemed a completely logical and reasonable approach to take.